Howdy chaps, and welcome back to another episode. This episode today is probably going to be more of a workshop update. It'll probably be short and sweet, and I'll run you through some of the things I have acquired and why you got no video last week. Alrighty chaps, now for the uninitiated, you will be staring at the business end of a Continental W670 7-cylinder radial engine that powered the Stuart tank that I have. Not the exact one from that tank. This engine actually powered an LVT, which is a landing craft. They also shared the same engine, same basic transmission, and a lot of the similar controls. So those big honking landing craft which are amphibious, this engine also powered those. It's also an aircraft engine, and I'm not sure what aircraft it come from, but I know that this particular engine powered the Stuart tank and the LVTs, and this one happens to be from an LVT because it's got its LVT frame on it. The Stuart tank engine mounts slightly differently. These are around the other way, and the Stuart has these pipes on a diagonal to fit in the tank. Aside from that though, everything else should be exactly the same. I'm missing the yoke on the end, but the clutch is in there. I don't know if it's going to work. It probably needs to be pulled apart and cleaned. The clutch is inside the fan. Obviously the fan cools the engine because it's air cooled. It's got its shrouds on it, it's got its exhaust on it, it's got its magnetos. That is a starter motor for those playing at home. So it's 2 mags. Carburetor is down there. Generator. I think that's a fuel pump. I'm still very much learning these things, and because it was in an LVT, it's actually got Bureau of Ships on the top of it. But this is actually the back of the engine, so you got your high tension leads run into this pipe that runs around and the end of the spark plug. So these are the wrong spark plugs. They're supposed to have a screw thread on the end of them and go on like that, but I'll just leave that off where it was. I think that's the fuel priming system. There's 14 spark plugs. There's one on the set on the front, one set on the back, one for each magnetos. I'm very new to these engines, although I do know that I'm missing my booster coil, my starter solenoid, my fuel filter system, and an oil tank for the dry sump setup this thing's got, I believe. But I know some people would be keen to see this, and I did end up selling the VF wagon. I actually managed to sell it to my parents, of all people, which was good, so I stayed in the family. But this cost me a good amount. You could buy a very reasonable car for what I paid for this engine, and if you park it next to a Clevo, it's so cute and tiny. And we worked out that this weighs about 500 kilos, what you're staring at it, not including the pallet it's sitting on. So it is a very heavy machine. The basic engine itself is all alloy, or probably magnesium or something like that. That's not heavy, but the frame it's sitting on, the exhaust, the shrouds, the fan, the clutch and everything like that starts making it heavy. So unfortunately I can't baffle you with information because I don't know much about these, and if anybody out there does have any information or just happens to have some parts sing out, let me know. It's a very intricate machine. Don't ask me how you change some of the spark plugs down there, with great difficulty I imagine, but I was happy to get it because I mean this is an 80-year-old engine, and where do you get them? You just don't get them. And it looks like it was running at some point, so I've got high hopes. And it's not C, so it turns over, but there is a spark plug missing, so I need to chase down some special spark plugs, put a set in it, and make sure it's all sealed up. So that is one thing. So I have an engine for it, and I've answered the do I have tracks for the tank 1,000 times now, and there they are. I'm staring at the tracks. I need to go back and get a couple more links because some of these some of the cleats are a bit sad, like that one's rusted all the way through. But getting tracks for a vehicle of this nature is not easy, and I have a piece over there 3 bits there, and a stack here. I do have enough of the vehicle, but I need a couple more bits just to replace some of them, because some of them are looking a little sad. Some bits are looking great, like that one's perfect, but then you get the polar opposite where that one's totally stuffed. So I've worked out there is 132. Okay, we'll go over here and count, because I've actually got some of these apart. Over here on the EJ table. So there's 132 of these per tank on a Stewart. That weighs about 5 kilos. That's a nice one. These ones have started to get a bit of rust and it's starting to swell a little bit. But yes, there's 132 of these, which means there's 264 of these. And I've got I don't need to take them all off, but I probably need to go through and replace a lot of the wedges and the nuts that are stuffed. Some of the wedges do actually need to be replaced, because some of them look like that guy, and there's some bad ones. That one's savable. For the most part, they look a bit like that when they come out. They're not too bad, can be blasted and put back on. But yeah, and some of the nuts, when they undo, don't exactly resemble nuts anymore. But that's the price you pay. Most of them are good, and yeah, so we're going to be busting apart a few tracks. Started cleaning up the inside of the machine gun port, because that's going to go back in very shortly. I have been working on cars, despite what most people believe. I actually have been continuing along with work at what I normally do, but what is progressing is this in the background, because Dad's actually doing this during the day. Now you might notice it's green. That's because he's finished getting the rust off and treating the areas we can't get to. And I did run a sandblaster, my portable one, gingerly over in and around the suspension components and the springs and stuff. Didn't go nuts, just got the loose flaky stuff off. We treated it with some rust converter and then a bit of red oxide and a bit of green paint. This green is too shiny. It's got a high gloss. We're getting some more mixed up with a matte look to it. So we got a 1 litre as a test, and I got sick of looking at it as a brown rusty mess, so I wanted to spray it on, and it actually looks pretty good. Just a bit too shiny. Colour's right, shines too much, but it's okay. And I've started painting inside the battery box with some white enamel, and the back's looking pretty good here. Still need to go down under and do all that, but and we got this piece. That was a freshie made. Still haven't quite finished, but that's going along well. I have this piece, which is the opposite of that guy, currently being made, and once he turns up, hopefully next week, we'll be able to put a lot of the front on this vehicle. And it sounds like motorbikes next door. Now, I know a few people have been crying out for the EJ, but you just got to bear with me on that one, chaps. I haven't forgotten, it is happening. It's just a lot going on right now, and yeah, it's turning into a barn find. But look how good that quarter panel looks. Yeah, so, and we were supposed to have had Peter's XA. That's in Adelaide. That's supposed to be here, but that got delayed by the local tow truckie. So you would have seen that in this video, but it'll be next week. So next week's video is going to be much better. And the man himself, Peter Anderson, will be down in a couple of weeks to put that roof on while I do work during the day. And of course, coupes are starting to look pretty good. I got to make sure I order a pair of wheel arches for this one, and just continue along. That A-pillar section at the bottom was really rusty, but I'm going to do a bit more on that this week. I'm going to finish up that area, and then I'm going to do the tail end of this sill panel. Believe it or not, that sill panel is utterly spotless all the way through. Just this end where it's been cut has only just started to go. So it's weird, this particular coupe, one side just chewed out like buggery, and this side like new. The inside torque box on this side was perfect. I could not believe it. So you had the other side, which was one of the worst I've ever seen, and this side being complete opposite. So on this side it's just inner and outer wheel arch, tail end of the seal panel, front of the wheel tub, a little bit underneath the quarter panel there, and then this side, aside from the plenum chamber, is pretty well done. Like it's, and there's some repairs to go at the front end, but realistically it's not horrendously miles off, because I've done all the back end, which looks lovely. I've got to tackle this bit, just haven't done that, but for most part looking lovely. And the bottom of this, I don't know if I ever showed it in the video or not, but the bottom of this panel, that's the original top with a rear spares bottom on it, or I may have actually handmade one corner. I know the middle I chopped out and joined in, and obviously that's a new better than new old stock centre, and the Astor ends, and a custom garage lower, which are also very good. So I don't actually know what else I'm going to show in this video. It might be just a short and sweet one, but I thought I'd give you a bit of an update. And I managed to also, total back to the tank thing, I managed to got given, should I say, the other piece of 40mm plate that goes on the tank at the front. So, and I have actually got it clamped to here because this weighs 500 kilos and the crane needed its full extension plus a little extra, and we needed to I put a couple of track links on the back of the crane plus that, and it added about 200 kilos at this end, which was enough to counterbalance the crane to be able to move this, but we still need to move this before Peter Anderson turns up. So it's all happening. A little update, chaps. I did get myself a uterus. No, it's not an SS, it's just a V6, but doesn't mean I won't put a V8 into it one day. But needed myself a set of wheels, and a mate was selling this, and you know, I don't really need an immaculate car, but it makes a pretty damn good work bus. And yeah, if you're thinking, pretty much every car I've got is now a Holden. If I'm thinking I've switched sides, I pretty much have. I don't know, I just like the Holden Utes over the Falcon Utes. It's just a personal preference thing. Also like the fact that on the later Falcon Utes, well actually should I say, I like on the Holden Utes how it's a steel tray, steel sides. It's actually, the tray is part of the body, it's actually part of the unibody, whereas on the Falcons they're pretty much all a cab chassis depending on what you play with. And the style side tray on most Falcon Utes is basically tin foil with a big honking plastic liner in it, and nothing you ever put in them stays where you want them to. So I got this bus, pretty good, low-ish Ks for the age, not too bad, looks good, probably won't stay clean forever even though it's not very clean, but yeah, that's my new ride, not too bad, I like it. I was quite fond of the VU Utes and the VXs and stuff like that. This is about when Holden was at their absolute peak. They were doing, their cars were just awesome. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to show in this video and how interesting it is, but I have been tinkering. I've got to get this machine gun port back on here, but the farmers in their infinite wisdom chopped off, well, this piece of angle line about here, same with the other one actually, but it's broken off, and I suspect that that piece was cut off because of the, you can sort of see the remnants of it there. It's like a big bracket that was sitting across here where they're sort of the front half of the controls are mounted. I'm assuming they cut that off so they could actually put that beam in. So one of the things with restoring these vehicles is, particularly if you have to start with something that's been farmerized, you have to spend a fair bit of time undoing all of the work that they have done to it. So that's what I've been doing. So if I get that in and the new holes drilled and looking nice, then that's good. Now it will eventually probably completely get stripped and blasted and everything down the track. And I'm probably actually going to hand blast it myself on the inside bit by bit, but I'm just trying to assemble a complete vehicle. So if things look like they're happening in an order that doesn't make sense, good, because they don't make sense. You are correct. So, you know, I'm just doing the best I can with what I got and at a pace that I'm comfortable with. And yeah, so basically I've got to put that back on. I don't have a piece for here, unfortunately. I used it for something else, but it doesn't matter. I don't have the piece that goes up here yet either, but I have that one, so I'm going to do that one. And then I'm going to make that rectangle of 10mm plate, which I've got some over there, and make the new piece that goes here, because that'll be the bit that joins that top piece on. And I've got this piece here, so when I have this upright with the driver's peephole in it, it's actually, I think it's called a pistol port, but no, it's not a pistol port, it's more of a vision slit. Pistol ports are the big flaps that open. When I got that on, then I can put the T-piece on, and I can put a lot of the frontal armour on too. And then all I need to do is get 2 bits made for here and a third for there, and we should be giggling like schoolgirls, and that'll be effectively the whole front of the vehicle together. And then we just do the big slab sides and the roof and the rear engine decks and stuff like that. So it seems like a mammoth task, but it's not that bad really. Just taking it easy stages, but like I said in the last couple of videos, this is a huge task with thousands of little tasks in it. So I'm going to drill that, and you know, maybe I'll follow you along with the install or something. I'll just play it by ear with my videoing today. Alrighty, so I just drilled out all the holes. I think I'm going to actually have to take this bracket off one day. It's supposed to be bolted on, but somebody's welded it on at some point, so cross that bridge when I come to it. But I set a bolt in there, got another piece of angle iron, getting that dead level, looking lovely. I V'd it out with a belt sander, so what I'm going to do is just go there and nuke a bit of weld, and then I'll know it's right. Take that off, nuke along there, grind it flat, and then I'll have to get in there and do the same through here. But looking good. And then that piece will be in, so I'll have to get some nuts for these. Nuts. And what I might do is drop that machine gun port on here temporarily today and drill out the holes. I'm not sure which ones are which, because there seems to be a lot of extra holes. I'm pretty sure those are rivet holes. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. And these holes here are for the mudguard that goes through here. I think that's a mudguard bolt. That is, I reckon, it's either that one, it's either those two or those three. I'm not sure. But I think that notch there is actually for the headlight wiring to go through. Yeah, it's just the joys of winging this. It's a bat pun. So I'm going to weld that, and I'll see you in a jiffy. Alrighty, now this piece is lowered in. I was going to film it, and I decided, what if I make myself look like an idiot more than normal? No, I thought I'd just do it without time lapse, but it's alright. Now, these all line up beautifully till you get about here where that's the fresh piece. Now, I'm currently trying to figure out, so I made a custom bolt there which I put in the drill press and then ran an angle grinder on, so it was tapered. So these are all, there's tapered, and this guy's tapered. Now I'm wondering whether or not those are actually tapered rivets from the factory. And now they have been known to do that a few times on this tank, where they'll shave the top off the rivet, and here's some here. You got big ones, and then you got a smoothed off one. So I'm wondering whether or not these are supposed to be smoothed off, or if those are the rivet holes. I can't quite work out, unless one of those is the horn wiring hole and one of them is a headlight wiring hole, which actually seems more likely to be the case, thinking about it now. And that might be a mudguard bracket, and that one there. So it's a bit of a But yeah, I reckon those are more likely to be shaved off rivet heads across there. Those are normal, supposed to be rivets like those guys, so we'll replace those with some dome headed bolts with the ends welded up so they look like it. But I reckon that guy and that guy might actually be, now I'm thinking about it, might be the wiring holes for the thingamabobs and the doodads and the hoo-has. I know what these two holes are for. They're for a little bracket that mounts there to hold your co-driver's hatch up. So, and then of course that's smooth because that's where the driver's hatch, passenger's hatch comes down. Co-drivers or bow gunners, there's about 1,000 different ways you want to take, but that comes down and smooth. So that's obviously a rivet. So maybe these guys here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are actually rivets, and that's that. That's a bolt. That's probably a bolt in these two. So yeah, okay, I think I figured it out. Rivet, 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 rivet. Alright, now we figured it out. I still need to drill all these out, but that's a win. Alright, I thought I'd round out the last thing on this video for today is me tinkering with this Siren bracket. Obviously I've got to drill a hole here at some point, but I'll do that once I test fit the Siren. And this, I'll admit, this is a little bit shorter than that, but I will build it up with weld. I'm just using a bit of leftover 6mm plate that I had. I'm not going to waste endless amounts of steel. I'll make do with what I've got. So I've sort of gingerly, that's just sitting there, but folded the next two bits, and that's sort of what it's supposed to look like. And then the Siren sits here and points that way, but it does overlap onto that front panel. And yeah, so this one was obviously oxyed in half whenever this panel was removed from whatever vehicle it came from. So I've just got that front little bit, weld it, and then Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and I reckon I'll round out the video with that. You know, it's not, yeah, so it's a little bit, sort of the plate goes on an angle, so it's not bad at the front, but it just tapers off. So one side was straight, and I was like, oh, that's close enough, I'll build it up with weld so I don't waste steel. But yet another piece that's getting fixed. I drilled all those holes up there, snapped a 13mm drill bit, trying to clear out the oxy slag that's in there. One of them, the drill bit just went, just shattered in a million pieces. I was like, well, apparently that was stronger than the drill bit. Anyway, they're all drilled, getting that done, and then that piece is pretty much effectively done. And then hopefully in the next video we'll get that sort of the vision port area, which is down there, up there. So I'll just weld this and then round out the video, I think. Alrighty, as they say in the classics, never say never, because if you can't find it, you can make it, because somebody made it to begin with. So that's a, well, I guess you call it a angle, was it Allen key bolt with the end welded up, and it remarkably looks a lot like a rivet once it's on. So welded, lovely, angles right, shaved up nicely. I did actually notice that it's a little bit tapered on a good day anyway, so obviously that bracket was a bit of a you know, whatever's going, doesn't matter, it's life expectancy of the vehicle is not going to be excessive. But I can now mount my Siren, which is good, and then I can get on the inside with the radial gun and just blast that up, and that'll pull that down just a little bit there, and that'll be good. And when I test fit my Siren, I'll have to take that bolt out and probably drill another hole here, and then that right there. And yeah, so flush mount some bolts which I have whittled down and put them in there. I reckon that's the wiring, that's a wiring, oh hang on, where was it? That's a rivet, that's a rivet, that's a wiring, that's a wiring, and that's a rivet. That one I reckon I might put a smaller bolt in there and then just weld over the top of it, because it's so destroyed from an oxy. But anyway, that piece is in, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this workshop update and my latest acquisition as a vehicle. The EJ will come back, I promise it will. Just timing is one of those things. But yes, I hope you've enjoyed a bit of tank building, a bit of an update, and my new engine and my tracks and things like that. So hope to see you in the next one.